Alrighty then. It looks like we are back for another live. What did we decide? Carpe diem moments. Still got to get that logistic things worked out. Speaking of logistics, I've seen some people do. Well, actually, I have two questions. If any of you know the answer, I've seen some people who display these little banners on their Facebook Live that has their name and stuff. It looks kind of cool. It looks professional. I was wondering, does anybody know how to do that? And the second thing, my second quick question is, I've also seen some people who will, they have it set up somehow where they're able to send an email out through Messenger to let people know that they're getting ready to go live. Does anybody know how to do that? Because I think it'd be kind of cool to be able to have that as a resource to be able to, in addition, like a backup to send out and say, hey, like we're getting ready to go live, and not just relying on the notifications. I don't know. If anybody has any insight or wisdom around that to share, I would love to hear it. Let me just, speaking of sharing, let me just share this on one more page. All right. So be sure to say hello. Let me know where you're logging in from. Let's see who's on here. Let me get my things moved over. Oh, it's not even showing. I see. Linda, I see your comment popping up. I don't know why it's not popping up in the live stream. Hopefully that'll correct itself. Pete, Jackie, Robin. Hey, Pete, how you doing? Joe, Chad, Maureen, Debbie. Good to see some of you on here. Oh, there it goes. Larry, Lisa, Angela. Hey, Larry, how are you? All right. Larry, can you see me today? All right. So let's dive into today. I was thinking about what to talk about today and what I wanted to share. And I had kind of a, what's that? Was it amalgamation? Is that the word? I don't know if that's even the word I want to use, but it just sounds kind of cool. So I want to say it anyways. Of thoughts swimming around in my head to bring to the table today. And one of the ones that kept coming back through is, who am I? Right? Who am I? Who are you? Who are all of us? And what I mean by that is we live in a really fascinating time where technology allows us to do things like this. I mean, I see people on here. Somebody just said they're from Northern Ireland. There's people on here from Europe. There's people on here from different parts of the US. I'm coming to you from Southern California right now. We have this amazing connectability, and we're able to invite ourselves into each other's homes, into our offices. It's not lost on me that right now I may be joining you in your office, in your car, at work, in your kitchen, on your living room couch, somewhere like that. And so we have these barriers of connection have been bridged to the point where we're actually inviting people into our homes, into our personal space in ways that we never have before. But on the same note, we also have this really interesting fixation, if you will, in how we demonstrate our lives, how we almost, what's the word, control the image of our lives out to the public, right? It's always, I know some people, it's either there's a photo that's not going up unless it's filtered, or there's only a photo that's going up if it's from this side, or we can never talk about these kinds of things, or we can never mention this kind of stuff. I mean, hell, I do it too, right? I can't tell you how many selfies I've retaken before because I go, oh, that one's not gonna, I look stupid in it, or I look goofy in it, or nobody's gonna respond to that, or whatever that is. If I make sure this angle's in there, maybe I'll get a few more likes on it and whatnot like that. And so much of who we are, or who we project ourselves as being, is built around this image of how we're going to show up on somebody else's screen, inside of somebody else's home, inside of somebody else's digital box right now, like I am with all of you. But is that who we really are? And in that display, and in that striving to continually condense ourselves down to this digital representation of ourselves, so that people from all over, our distant friends, cousin, relative, or some person we met at some bar some number of years ago, when they see pictures of us, they think that everything's just perfect sunshine and rainbows, and we literally wake up and we crap gold, and we have morning breath that emits roses. But is that all who we really are? And I would argue that in our digitizing ourselves, our digitizing our images, we may be burying some of the essence of who we are and not owning it. And by not owning that, when we actually go and have the face-to-face or the connections, we may not be fully who we are. And I think also, for me at least, I'm speaking for myself here, by me not owning some parts of myself, I think I help perpetuate something that I don't necessarily agree with. Oh, I shouldn't say I think, I know I do. What do I mean by that? I think I've shared with you all on here a few times, but for I guess it's for about a couple years there, I had gotten into, so as things started to take off, I started to have a little bit more of a social presence, started to get busier with work, all these types of things. I started to really dive into what I needed to do to grow, because on my heart, my mission is to serve more people, to help more people. I want to be able to positively impact the lives of 2 billion with a B in my lifetime. And so I really dove in and trying to be a student of what does it take to reach more people? How do I need to connect more? What are the people who are uber successful doing, and trying to model things like that? And if I take advice from other people, oh, Jesse, you should do more of this, you should do less of that. You should make sure you have these things this way, or you should cuss less, or do more, or get dressed up, wear a tie, all these kinds of things. And I kept trying to fit into this mold of who I thought I should be in this space. And it was friggin' killing me. It was just driving me crazy. I would wake up every morning stressed out about how am I going to make myself fit into this box. I would go to bed at night thinking, I'm putting in all this time, energy, and effort in trying to connect and communicate through this space and fit into this box that I think I'm supposed to fit in, because that's what I'm supposed to do. And it's not resonating. It's not connecting with people. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not having fun with it. I'm getting frustrated. Not even getting frustrated. I'm getting pissed off. And for what? Like, what's the payoff with it? Because at the end of the day, I'm putting a message out that while I believe in the words and I believe in the intent behind the message, the messenger who's trying to deliver it is not being fully himself, because he's trying to fit into this mold that he thinks he's supposed to be in. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing that any of us have done it. I don't think it's a bad thing that I've done it. I think it's a very powerful introspective thing, because it really gave me an opportunity to look at myself and say, where can I grow? And who am I? Who am I really? Not who am I trying to be, not who am I projecting myself as being, but who am I really? Who am I really? I like saying bad words. I do not, and I shouldn't say bad words. I don't think cussing, swearing is bad words. I think bad words, I think the worst words in our language are words like can't, I'm unable to, I'm incapable of, it's impossible. I think that stuff is the biggest fucking load of garbage that we ever have. Now, the F word, on the other hand, I think it can be a very artistic and powerful word when wielded properly. But words like I can't, those are swear words to me. Words like I'm unable to, those are bad words to me. Words like it's impossible for me, I'm not capable of, that is like the ultimate defile of human potential and possibility. And that language, I just don't want to have any room for it in here or here. Who am I? God, I love South Park. South Park is my favorite show. And the new season just started last night, so I watched it last night. It is so over the top sometimes that I literally sit there and I'm uncomfortable. And I even thought at this point with South Park where there was a couple episodes they did, I was like, God, that's a little, racy. I don't really appreciate it. It's kind of this. But I realized that if I didn't own that about them, that I would almost be contradicting, because 95% of it I could laugh at, think it was funny, but this other 5% made me feel uncomfortable. And I had to look at myself with that and say, okay, what is it about that makes me uncomfortable? And recognizing that what they were doing wasn't anything about me. It wasn't anything about them. It was me not being comfortable with a part of myself that was being represented there. Awesome opportunity to learn. So I'm really looking forward to South Park, because I think South Park is just so over the top. It's great. Who am I? I was talking with somebody about this a few days ago, about going up on top of Mount Whitney. And I know I'm jumping all over the place here, so I hope you're staying with me, because there's a point to all this. And when I climbed Mount Whitney several years ago, I remember getting to the top of it. And has anybody on here ever done Mount Whitney by chance? Mount Whitney is the highest point on the lower 48 states. It's 14,500 feet. And you get up to the top of it, and it's just, you're pretty much on top of the world for the lower U.S. And I was up there looking around and just taking everything in. And I asked somebody to take a photo of me, because I had gone up there by myself. And it must have been about 10:30 in the morning, maybe, 10 a.m., maybe 11 a.m. at the latest. And I was getting ready to start the the descent back down. Looking around, there was everything's just shale. It's all rocks. There's no vegetation. Nothing's growing up there. And all of a sudden I had this knock on the door of Mother Nature. And nature wasn't just lightly knocking and saying, hey, can I come in? Mother Nature was banging on the door saying, I'm going to come in whether you're going to let me come in or not. Well, here I am up on top of this mountain, and there's no real bushes or anything to hide behind. And the last thing you want to do is ever be caught with your pants down anyways, but to be caught with your pants down on top of your mountain is absolutely horrendous. So I go and find some rocks that kind of obstructed the view. And keep in mind, when you're at altitude like this, if anybody's ever been at altitude, it is hard as hell to breathe. And when you make big movements, anything that requires a lot of blood being pumped, so like a standing up, sitting down, a big step, trying to jump, something like that, it feels like you just got done. Your air is so restricted, it feels like you may have just finished doing sprints for an hour. So I find my rocks to try to squat behind, because in my head I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to go to the bathroom up here. I can't believe people are going to see this, all these types of things. But then also Mother Nature sitting there banging on the door going, hey, if you don't do something, we're coming right now. And as I'm going, I have this thought going through my head, because I'm literally about this far away from the edge, and it's about a 2,000-foot drop that you can see straight down, thinking, my God, if I died right now, if I passed out and my legs are shaking, if I passed out and I go over, and the message that they get to my mom was he was found at the bottom with his pants around his ankle, and he died going number 2 on top of the mountain. I was sitting there thinking, what a horrible obituary that would be. So I go to the bathroom. Now, up until that point, I'm absolutely mortified that I'm even doing this, right? Because nobody else but me had to go to the bathroom up on top of Mount Whitney that day. It's interesting how when we go into our most uncomfortable things, we think that nobody else but us has to go through it. It's like our most uncomfortable, natural, biological parts of humanity, our fears or insecurities or self-doubts. We immediately think, gosh, nobody else but me must go through this. Because nobody up on that mountain nobody else up there pooped. It was just me. And nobody else had ever been in a perilous, and I do say perilous, situation like that. Now, they give you these bags you go to the bathroom in, and they're these chemical reaction bags that when you go, you seal it, and then it does something and locks it in so that you can go and take it down and dispose it in the disposable waste, but you have to pack it out. I'm a big guy, so you can imagine I probably have and I pack my thing out, I tie it up to my backpack, and I proudly march the next 12 miles or whatever it is down. And I remember at one point passing this ranger, and the ranger looks at me and he says, we say exchange pleasantries, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And he looks at me and he says, thank you for packing your waste out. And I smile at him and said, you're welcome. Thank you for thanking me. And then we kept going our separate ways. I got about 15 feet from him when all of a sudden it hit me on what a strange conversation that was, strange exchange that was, to literally pass by another human being with my own shit on my back, and him, just as normal, very pleasant, say, thank you for carrying it, and me say, you're very welcome, thank you for thanking me. But in any other context, it might have been completely weird. And what's the point of this all coming around full circle? I was just being me in one of my most vulnerable and awkward and uncomfortable things. And he was just being him. And there was a moment of humanity that intersected there where it wasn't about being weird or being uncomfortable or trying to pretend like I don't go to the bathroom, or I don't like to say swear words, or I don't like South Park or anything like that. It was just one human to human acknowledging the humanity of us. And not only, but acknowledging and sharing this humanity in this really unique situation, but it just being okay and not being weird and not being awkward and not being uncomfortable like I had made it in my own head, but it just being okay. Not only was it okay, but it was appreciated too. And so the overarching message of all this is, right, from the stories of South Park to pooping up on mountains, the overarching message of this is, I encourage you all to take away, is to ask yourself, who are you? One, who are you really? And are you really being you when you go out into the world, when you're online? And if you're not, who are you trying to pretend to be? And even more importantly, who are you, how am I trying to say this? What is your reason for not being you? And if you were you, what would happen? What would happen if you were you? What would happen if you were you and that was just perfect and fine? The ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, your very basic humanity. What would happen if? Who knows? You might lose a few friends on Facebook. I get some nasty emails probably at least every week with people saying, you cuss too much or you're this or that. But I also get some really kind things from a lot of you. And people who are going to be nasty, they can be nasty. That's fine. That's their choice. But I don't know about all of you, but I really, really just want to be me and be the best me that I can be. And if I live my life trying to fit into a mold or trying to impress everyone else, I will never, ever get me fully. Which I encourage you all to really think about that for yourself. Are you being you? Are you being you fully? And if not, when will you start being you? Because the quirks, the ups and downs, the loony parts, the bad stuff, hey, if you've ever had to take a poop up a couple miles high, you and I are brothers and sisters in that. You're not alone. Those thoughts, those everything, there's no need to live trying to hide those. I've had them. I bet you everyone else on here who's perfectly honest has probably had them. And I would be lying to you if I said I was never going to have them again. But embracing them rather than hiding from them is where our biggest changes and transformation comes from. And it's also where we get to sometimes have some of the best moments with random people. And let's be real, I wouldn't have this story to share with you all today if I hadn't have had that moment. So anyways, that's what I got with you all today. That's a kind of a long ramble. I appreciate all of you staying with me. I hope this was valuable.